Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you so much for joining us today. We are in conversation with Ashley Normal. I'm Amy Regan from Seesaw Art here in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. And we are so excited to discuss the artworks that are currently on view in our exhibition that is entitled The-New-Naturalists, which features not only Ashley, but Peter Sandback of Harrisville, New Hampshire, and Forrest Knight of Madbury, New Hampshire. And we are excited and so thankful that Ashley is joining us tonight. And welcome.
Thank you for having
me. Definitely. So I made this lovely little slide deck so we can all enjoy the work together and take a look at the pieces from online. I will also share the address, the website, which is seesaw.art. When you go there, you're able to check out all the pieces from online and enjoy them in that way too. But to kick it off, Ashley Normal was born in 1984 in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, and is an artist, educator, and community builder based in southern New Hampshire. Working under a pseudonym, she explores, it should say Ashley Norman, shouldn't it?
I mean,
bio though, right? Okay, that's because I know exactly how that happened. I'm sure what you said me was not that, but that's okay. Working under a pseudonym, she explores synchronicities and the bizarre, beautiful, and perfectly imperfect moments of everyday life through an interdisciplinary practice. Through drawing, painting, and assemblage, she uncovers the absurd within the familiar, creating interventions that reframe what already exists. This is so beautiful. Guided by play, curiosity, and intuition, her work engages tensions between attraction and repulsion, dark humor, and the surreal. Her work has been exhibited throughout New England, including the Fitchburg Art Museum and the Center for Maine Contemporary Art Biennial and the George Marshall Store Gallery. So lovely to hear that intention behind the work, because there's so many different directions that that it goes in, and it was a really lovely curatorial process for myself, because I think you dropped off around 1,000 pieces of art.
Sounds about right.
Like lovely bin of perfectly placed and like very lovingly packed. And I love that you were like, I think I overthought it and I had decided I don't even know what it is. Like, no, that's fine. Totally fine with me. So what I was able to do was to sort of look through everything and then kind of try to figure out how to install the exhibition. And you can see behind me, we have Forrest Knight here, and then we have Peter Sandback. So I wanted to make sure, including Ashley's smaller pieces, they're all 3x3 or just thereabout. I wanted to make sure that the balance made sense within the show. And I like to make a big soup and hang salon style and mix everybody together instead of saying like, this is your wall, this is your wall, this is your wall. So I kind of had to almost categorize the work in my own way first, and then decide what my groups of 4 were going to be. And I have some over here as well. So going through that process was really lovely, because I have the tendency to just hang everything that comes in the door, and I could not. I culled it down to 36 pieces, which is still like each piece has like it comes with a lot of work. You have to document and get it ready and like figure out everything you're gonna do. So I'm proud of the collection that I chose, and I hope you feel the same way too. Thank you for the freedom in letting me sort of pull through everything and kind of like decide. But I think that that's part of the conversation here, is that you're such a prolific artist and there were so many things to drop off, right? Like sometimes it's like, I can tell it's the painter's 12 paintings and like that's what they have right now, but you just have this beautiful backlog. So I'm gonna just kind of scroll through a couple of the pieces. And can you tell us a little bit about what patrons can expect to see when they visit Seesaw Art this month?
So, like Amy said, I've been working 3x3 for the last couple of years. I had a show at the New Hampshire Art Association last year. And so I like to make little constraints for myself. I'm an educator as well, so I do a lot of like prompting for my students. So I prompt myself sometimes. And so all of the pieces are 3x3. I don't think there were any other pieces included. And most of them are from what I call starters. So I'll take bigger paintings and I'll cut them up. I don't know what is in
cool.
here, but I have some pieces to kind of like give an idea, but
Oh, wow.
like
Yeah.
painting. Sometimes I just like them as is and I don't even want to work into them. But when I have an idea, I'll kind of go through and think about like what might make a background. And so I just kind of like play around with it. I have a lot of eyes, and then I do a lot of small collages, and then the one that was just on, and then some of the other ones, I do a lot of like mark making in the pieces as well. So
that is just so beautiful. It really does go in so many different directions. And I kind of had like the abstract bucket, and then I had the eye bucket. I knew the eyes were super important for this exhibition. And then I think I kind of did somewhere around like little more collage kind of where there's found images, and then just like off the wall, you know, like abstract. That's really fun to hear that you are looking at the background and then adding on to it, kind of just like processing what's already there. And maybe the background was something that started a little bit more organically, and then you can kind of pull it in. My question, one of my questions is, what is sumingashi? What is sumingashi, and how do you pronounce it?
I don't know if I'm 100% correct, but I think it's suminagashi, and it translates to essentially spilt ink in Japanese, and it's a Japanese marbling. So I have another box of bigger starters, which I can kind of so this would be kind of like the marbling that's happening over here, and then sometimes I'll paint back into it.
Wow.
And you can also do a lot of the kits will come with these little discs of what I assume is kind of like a wax paper, where you can also do droplets and then kind of bring the paper in. So sometimes I do that, but most of the time it's marbling.
So are you marbling on like a water, like I think about doing a scarf. So you're doing like water bath and then laying the paper on it?
Kind of. So I used to teach photography, and if anyone's taken a photo class before, there's the trays that you'd have for putting all of the photos through the chemicals. So I use a photo tray, but you can do anything. I've seen people do it in puddles on the street before. Yeah. So my husband sends me really cool videos all the time whenever he sees them. But we live in a very small apartment. Before we hopped on, Amy and I were talking about how it's kind of nice sometimes to hear how artists like really live in the real world and have responsibilities and just all these different things. But sometimes I go large, so I will just literally we have like a galley style kitchen, and I'll just fill the floor with like all of these suminagashi prints. And then
that's so cool. Yeah. Wow. The marbling is just so beautiful, and the way that you've sort of worked through it in some of the pieces, and I'm gonna drive everybody crazy a little bit. I know the order that these are in because this is this one. This is so beautiful to me, and it sticks out in a little bit of a different way. And I think it's because of the bubble here. I don't know if everybody can see my little pointer finger here. But this was definitely one of like the most wild cardish ones because of the color, but then also how thoughtfully the acrylic ink is added in. And there's a little bit like a couple pieces sort of talk about runny eggs, and I just like I just like the titles on that. This piece is just so beautiful, and I can kind of see where you're starting with that starter. And talk about like what got you started on having the starter kits, or kind of like how you put stuff together, because it seems you seem like a chef, that has all different kinds of ingredients and is like pulling out.
So I my background's in art education, and so I think that that's a large, it's like the chicken or the egg situation. Do I experiment with so many different materials because of that, or did I go into it because of the love for this kind of interdisciplinary way of working? But I teach choice-based art education, which is called Teaching for Artistic Behavior. The acronym is TAB. And so years ago, I was watching an artist who is now recently-ish retired. Her name is Anne Bedrick, and she still makes work now that she's retired from teaching. But she would talk about having these happy accidents in her classroom. So, for instance, like if I was talking to a student and let's pretend that this is their piece of art and I've tried to redirect them and get them to see different things. Sometimes we just get to a point in making where it's not going anywhere at all. And so in my classroom, I'll have students kind of put their work in this bin and I quarter them up. So I would do this in my teaching practice. And then when I was in undergrad, I had a professor. I had spent like, I can't remember the exact amount of time, but maybe between 20 and 40 hours on this Aboriginal style painting. And I didn't love where it was going. And he's like, what if you cut it up into small pieces? But I had spent so much time on it. I was like, oh, I don't know.
You must have been like, let me think about that before we do it.
Yeah. And I did it, and it was like a really freeing experience. So I feel like I've kind of brought that with me, and I keep on coming back to that way of working.
Yeah, for sure. And where you're not like, basically you're not losing anything. It's always gaining, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure you throw out some stuff, but like, it's kind of like saving the shipping boxes in a way and hoping you're going to have to need a box, right?
Yeah.
You don't know what is like applicable. And this is such a beautiful example of the sumengashi, where like just this big wave is just so beautiful. And I love the scale also, like for so many reasons, but it really draws you in and you want to get as close as you can to the work. And then candidly, I hung them with museum tack, so just like little sticky, because I thought I'll do magnet, but I didn't want to do that because I felt like the magnet would always take away from the piece. And I really love when something is hung just super simply. So they're really just kind of like magically placed on the wall. And they draw you in, and you want to sort of explore there and live in these tiny little thoughts and feelings, and either representations. The 3x3 inch scale is like so powerful. And I have to give a good shout out to our friends at Creative Guts who recently had Ashley on. It's a lovely conversation. Listen to it if you haven't. And a little part that was very inspiring to me was working this scale also means that it's more portable and you can bring it with you. And when you have a little bit of time or you have an idea, it's something that you can be working on. And that was so inspiring to me to hear that you always have your sketchbook and a couple of pieces to go, because that's a challenging thing for an artist. Like you said, a real deal. In 2026 artist, how do you, sort of fit it into your life? That was just such a really beautiful way to think about how you're actually creating. So we alluded a little bit to it. I can picture your galley kitchen filled with prints.
Yes.
But what does your studio look like? Is it in the home, outside of the home, everywhere?
I'm sitting here now. It's like a nook in my room at the top of the stairs, and I have all of these like different boxes of systems set up. I have an alarm going off downstairs. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Alexa off. Success. But then like I have boxes like this. So these are different. I use postcards a lot. So like this little section is flowers and all different systems to kind of like go into. So I never have like a dreaded white canvas moment.
Right.
I'm always like,
Yeah.
I can kind of go into something and yeah.
That's really, and you could go in thinking like you have the idea, or
Yeah.
maybe you have some time and you kind of want to like look around and see what
Yeah.
it is that you can make. With this series, The Beauty is in the Eye of the Beholder. That was the one that I could tell was like sort of put together on purpose. Obviously, we had a lot of comments about how beautiful the frames were when we had the opening on the Saturday, and I just love the different styles that go in with them, like the tomato burst and the purple haze. Like they have that same sort of through line, but then they also have their own identities. Did this sort of come from, I guess, like where did this specific series come from?
So many years ago, I'm trying to think of when it maybe like 2013-ish. I've been working in collage for a really long time, but I was cutting out different eyes, and then I started to notice that there is a biomimicry that happens with the eyelid skin and below that is very similar to the skin around like the labia.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I started to notice that like the corner of the eye, it can be kind of similar to like a clitoris. And so
Yeah.
I think I started working with eyes even more because of this. And I started to do a lot of research at the time of different folklore, which is still something I'm like super interested in. And there's a folklore of the vagina dentata that is like throughout the world. So it's kind of interesting to think that it's not like this isolated tale.
Yeah.
And so from that, for anyone that's not familiar with that, there is a horror movie that came out maybe like 15, 20 years ago called Teeth that's based on that. But essentially it was like an empowering folktale for women as a way to kind of get men like to be aware of like what could happen if you approach a woman without them wanting or consenting to that. So that kind of started a lot of the work with the eyes. And then more recently, I do really feel like the eyes are kind of like a portal into the soul, if you believe in the soul, or just like a person's energy or whatever their story is or whatever emotions that they're currently going through. And so this series kind of was off of that. And then I love working with colored pencils and how you can get like really photorealistic with colored pencils.
Yeah.
I just was like, how can I push this further? So that's kind of the continuation of that.
That's amazing. Yeah. There's so much in there, right? And that's like it's a tiny little piece of artwork, but it
Yeah.
has it's encompassing all these different ideas. And I remember hearing that folktale story through the lens of a Native American, and it was like Coyote was like figuring out this story, right? So I remember reading that a number of years ago. With these, like I love and especially hearing about the teeth, like now I'm looking at the shapes here a little bit differently.
Yeah.
It's almost like the tie-dye in a way, and like the eyes are beautiful. They're also kind of like weirdly creepy. Like, why is there only one? They don't necessarily look like super happy. Like they kind of are just like there in a way. Each set of four has, yeah, exactly. So like they're just their own sort of differences. And the one that I really, really love, and I think it's this way. I'm such a nerd and I do everything like how the show is hung. So I just think about where walking around the show. Yeah, this one, I love this one so much. The larger elements here and the variations in the purple, and then like great title and just where it's placed as well. This series is so beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Oh man, I love that. This is like the abstract part. It's the section here, like they're just really, really thoughtful, but also like either you're talking about something or you're having fun, and that's something that I talk about all the time with friends is like you want to make sure that your art is making an impact and is helping people think through something maybe that's difficult or maybe something that's lovely, but also like it's just some fun sometimes. Like
Yeah.
you just want to enjoy the process, and I can tell that process is super important to what you do and kind of how it gets represented. These are just great. Yeah, so I was able to cull it down to just 36, which I was proud of myself because I like a packed show. But they're really beautiful, and the pieces that are they're both very approachably priced. The pieces that are the on paper are 80, and then the frame pieces are 120. And for everybody who is interested, I'm shipping these out for free. So anybody who lives far away and would love to get an Ashley Normal in the mail, I was just like, why not? This is so easy. Big paintings are harder to do, so it's fun for me to have a little extra. This I love because I don't know if the orange orb is like friendly or not.
Yes.
It's sort of emerging
Yeah.
like from the background. I kind of read those as like mountains in a way. Like there's a little bit of a landscape thing happening there, which is really beautiful. And then this piece is just gorgeous. I love the blue, and then I love this repetition of the almost rainbows in a way. It's really gorgeous. And then these two, because when I flip to the next one, it's just, yeah, like that's like such a beautiful, that's what I was going to ask you. So when you go to title something,
Yeah.
how do you start? Like the titles are important. I don't think there's anything that's untitled, right? So this is like figuring that out, or like how do you title your work?
I do have a lot of fun making work, like even the darker things. I just I need to be making and
Mhm.
exploring, and then the titling, I try my best to have fun with it. When I was lucky enough to have a studio at Chase's Garage when we lived on the seacoast, and I loved like playing with like different ideas of asking friends, like, what do you think about this? Or what does this remind you of? But a lot of the work I do, you mentioned how like there's runny eggs. I think about just fertility a lot with eggs, but then also like consumption, and then like runny eggs are kind of gross but also delicious and could be a little dangerous. I don't know.
Right.
And then I love the song just In Spite of Ourselves. My husband bought me a like pennant with some of the lyrics. I think it's like "We're the Big Show Prize." It's in my staircase, but
Yes.
and the
I'm
one,
so glad you're bringing that up because I was like, don't sing the song, Amy, but I want to sing. I'm like, I know it has to be from that. And yeah, like it's been stuck in my head the whole
yeah,
time I'm working with your show. I'm just like hearing it.
it's
I
such
think
a good
it's
song.
pretty sure it's so,
Yeah,
and so many people cover it and do
yeah.
such a good job. But I'm like, I think that is so cool. Exactly. But it sticks out. And this one in particular, like I don't 5,000 remain is just like I know there's like a whole story and background behind that. That one really stuck out to me actually, because the other ones I was like, okay, I kind of get it, celestial
Yeah.
date or that kind of thing. But
So the title for this one, they reminded me like specifically of eggs or embryos, and I just turned 42 in April, and I don't know, the journey of being a woman is just so filled with just so many different things. And so at this point, like most likely I have 5,000 eggs remaining. And so just like
yeah,
thinking of this like place in early midlife that I'm at, and yeah, and then I just
beautiful.
like the streams. It kind of reminds me of like streams of blood going around, or are we looking at something from really high, and it's more, I don't know, I find it
Graphic in a way.
exactly.
Yeah.
There is so much. I don't know if you've ever seen the Powers of 10 video.
Don't think so. I gotta check it out though. Does it
So
like, I love
yeah,
that.
so Ray Ames and is it Charles Ames? I think the Ameses who designed like the furniture and things like that. They were brought on to make this video of the Powers of 10. So it starts off and there's like this couple at a picnic, and then it goes Powers of 10 up into space, and then Powers of 10 back down,
Oh,
Earth, and then into the cellular level. And it's wild how scale is just so interesting how similar things can go in both directions.
yeah, definitely. I can totally see that. Not even like knowing anything about this piece, I was thinking like, I think this is like a marking of time,
Yeah.
or it's like a marking of obviously it's a marking of in what's the opposite of infinite, a finite amount. Like it's saying like we started and now this is where we ended up, and that's been really, I really love hearing the background to that, because I'm like something is under here, and it's very thoughtful, and it's a really beautiful way to explain, you know, just a tiny part of our women experience. Also kind of looks like strawberries a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's I'm strawberries. Like this. Oh man. And then I think, yeah, I think this is the last one in the show here. But this one is so specifically unique to me because I don't think, and maybe I have it like categorized wrong, but I think it's just collage. Not just collage, but it's collage only.
This one is collage only. So during February, it's the darkest steps of the year. If you live in New England, and there's this awesome collective that they do Febulage every year. And one of the words, I'm seeing if I have, okay. One of the words is jellyfish. And then I ended up doing like jellyfish for mine. And so
Sweetest jelly jar. I love that.
the teeniest jelly jar. And then it has all of these, I printed these little fish.
Oh my goodness, those are
that-
so good. I love that.
so
Like, man, it'd be so cool to see like what everybody else directions you go in, right? Because there's just
yeah, so I had a folder of words. Whenever Febulage happens, they are very gracious that they put out the calendar like 10 days before. So
yeah.
I'll start flipping through and gathering what I might use. And then there is like an automatic attraction to certain imagery. So even if I don't use it for that, I try to kind of keep those folders handy, because often I'll go back and then it just the top of the jellyfish had that like lid shape to it, and then I have like
totally
platters of little miniature eyes, and so I was like, this is the perfect one. But it's so tiny that I don't know if I think it was this piece. I like almost lost the eye, but then it's like, oh, whatever, I can find another eye. But my husband was saying that this is one of his favorite pieces I've done recently. He really enjoyed it. So
it's just like perfectly placed. And then there's so many different elements that remind me of your work, like organically in the piece, in the photo that you selected. Yeah, it's just really, really cool. It was called out a couple times during the reception because it's also different, you know what I mean? And people sort of gravitate towards that sort of thing. The jellyfish is the perfect thing to have. And like, you know, people will take like old letterpress straws and put them on the wall and then put their little like teeny curios in the draw spaces. Like I could so picture that in like the best like curio cabinet.
That would be very, yes, 100%.
What for you, and for so many different reasons, of course, but what are some of your favorite pieces that are on view?
So a lot of the work that I make, I think the eyes are the perfect example where it's just like they're kind of weird, they're kind of dark, but then it's like you look at it longer and then it kind of begins to tell more of a story. The migration one at the very beginning, it was has like a butterfly and a man on a hill.
Yeah.
Did that like over the winter when it was like fall, winter, when things were like really getting kind of um crazy with like the current state of affairs in the US with immigration, and just thinking of monarchs and
Mm.
other butterflies and moths, and how there are no borders for animals and for beings, and just trying to like think about like that migration is just like a natural existence of being alive. And so
Like add all these rules to it and like there's borders, but like we made the borders up kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah, right? Like it's all just like a human thing. I really love this pairing of the figure and the butterfly. Like just beautiful. And the way that the blue and the orange are together, like it's like they're I don't know, they're merging in a really beautiful way too. And I love the detail like in the center where you have those like tiny little water spots, kind of like the first snowball of winter too. Like that, like those are so gorgeous and so organic.
so that is like a salt technique.
Cool.
So you'll
Yeah.
put salt and the salt will start to absorb the water and it will create this like crystallized yeah.
Wow, I love that. And it's also like a really approachable, it's salt, right? Like I have some in the back room. Like it's beautiful. Wow. Just having fun looking at some of them. Cool. This one is so cool to me. Uh, Excellent. So, what's going on next for you? If you've got some show ideas, or what are you working on in the studio? Whatever that kind of means.
So I've been doing some partnerships with 3S teaching workshops. So I'm going to be teaching a workshop on July 11th. There's like a teenage workshop for 12 to 19-year-olds in the very morning. And then we're going to have kind of like an open event where you can come and just like make art and play for any age. So it's geared towards people that like might even have younger children because it's accessible for any age, but you don't have to bring children. You can just come and have fun and make there. So
That's
that's
cool.
one thing. Yeah. And then show ideas. I have two ideas that are like burning in my brain that I want to do. One is I've been thinking a lot about abundance, and especially like abundance in nature. So thinking about, again, with the constraints in myself, but what if I had to make work for 3 months of just what's in my studio? Like I can't get any other thing, like just thinking
Yeah.
about the we already have, or making more work with natural materials. Just going outside and just realizing like we have all of this potential at our fingertips. And then another show, I did a show a couple of years ago. You knew Kate, my friend, had passed away a couple of years ago. And I did a show kind of about the experience of like loss and grief, and kind of like working through that, and just we often don't say. I feel fortunate that I did tell her I loved her very often, and I really try. I don't know. Sometimes I think it might weird people out, but I'm like pretty open of just like saying I love you to people, because we don't know, what this life has in store for us. And so I would love, I've written a lot of eulogies in my family, and I would love to do a project where I'm kind of like making art and eulogies for people that are alive, like saying
Oh,
it while people are.
yeah.
So
Wow.
those
That
are the
is so
learning ideas.
beautiful. Yeah. That's so beautiful. And both of them, in a way, are a celebration of what we have and a
Yes.
recognition of what we have.
Mhm.
And, oh man, both of those sound really beautiful, especially like so much fun in trying to figure out how to present the eulogies and what that experience looks
Yeah.
like. Like we're used to a birthday party, but like how would it change if it was like, I don't know, something that I think about all the time is like giving people their flowers like while we still have them and that kind of thing. And there's so many different projects that can go along with like recognizing that. And I feel super lucky because I think like 99.9% of the time I'm working with living artists. So that's why I'm like, come on, and we can talk together, well, while we're here. And that's going to be a really fun project, and like who you pick and how you pick it, and like what you get drawn to. That sounds really cool. Wow.
Well,
Yes. So my last clincher question
yeah.
is it's just tough to be an artist. Like this is a known. And when you're kind of feeling like you'll never just drop it, that'll never happen. But when you're sort of feeling like, why do I do this? Or you're sort of facing something really challenging. Are there certain places or tactics that you turn to sort of help get you over that creative hump or just get you inspired? Like what keeps you coming back?
I think one thing I recently was talking about during the Creative Guts podcast is the fact that I give myself, I do make a lot of work, but giving myself permission that like there are seasons in life. And right now, I'm a teacher during the year, but with my kids being off in the summertime, I am still going to probably make a lot of work, but I think it's also okay to just be like, you don't have to make every single day. For my mental health personally, I am definitely at my best when I'm making work because it just helps me process through everything. But giving advice to other artists that might be in a place right now where maybe they're being hard on themselves, I feel like just play around with something. The Artist Way book is something I always like return to. I don't know if I've ever properly gone through the entire thing, but I take little bits and pieces of it all the time. And several of her prompts talk about thinking about who you were as a 7-year-old. And so
Oh,
like,
wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
if you don't know anything to do, like try to think about the 7-year-old version of yourself and like what you enjoyed like tinkering around with. Maybe you had one of those if you can picture like Christmas or Hanukkah presents where it's like a suitcase almost of like art supplies, like
Oh, totally. Yeah,
yeah, go to
100%.
Goodwill and get like a suitcase of art supplies and start like messing around and just see where it goes. So yeah.
Yeah, that is so helpful, honestly. And you can imagine, like, as being the curator, I sort of turn into the confessor a little bit. I'll say, like, hey, let's do a show, and then not see that artist for a year or something. And they'll say, oh, I haven't done anything. I say, no. I'm on it for the long haul. Like, I don't want to stress you out, but like, we want to work together whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
So, and I see that all the time. I see artists who think like, am I even an artist? I didn't like get into the studio today. And that is a ridiculous rubric.
Yeah.
Just
And
gonna go busy. There's no way.
yeah. And there's a great book also called Art and Fear. And it's from probably the late 80s, early 90s. It's just very short read. It's a gem of a book, but I think also people get into this mindset of there's a great video called Embrace the Shake, and it's talking about this artist who drew like very photorealistic with a micron pen, like very detail. And then he started to have a shake in his hand. And
Wow.
he went to his doctor and he's like, I haven't made any art. And I can't remember. It was like 5 years or some like a crazy amount of time. And the doctor was like, why don't you just embrace the shake? And he's like, embrace the shake. He's like, yeah, what could you do like with the shake? And so he started like painting with wine and like all of these like different things just to
Out of the box.
yeah. And so yeah, if this is a PSA for people who are like oil painters that no longer have the ventilation to do it, or glass blowers, like embrace the shake. Just figure out something and play around with some weird stuff.
And you're a creative person. You're going to be creative forever. And like that definitely does have the season. For me, like I'm representing Ashley, so I have that like deadline. If it was the Amy Regan Gallery, I'd have like one show a year like that. It's because I have that like pressure and those deadlines, which is sometimes good, you know, like you could give yourself a deadline, but also just know that sometimes I look at my calendar and I think, when's the next time that I don't have an appointment and I can just like hang out at home? And it's pretty tough sometimes. Like sometimes when it's like 2 weeks and you're like, I got something every day, it's like, I love this, I want to do this, but I also need to know that other things are going to have to take like a little bit of a step back. But that's fine, you know, you're going to get back to it, and kind of finding something that is creative but also super approachable, and then that will give joy for sure. I love that. That's awesome. I'm going to think about that. So thank you everybody for joining us. This has been really lovely. The art exhibition entitled The New Naturalist is on view until June 28th. So I'll be here this weekend and next weekend. And you can check out seesaw.art/visit. And that has the open hours for the gallery, and then also a time to book an appointment and come down and check out the show. I had an appointment before we had our artist talk tonight. So it's very fun when someone books an appointment to come down and say hello. And then check it out online as well. You can experience all the pieces at seesaw.art and purchase right from there too. So, and free shipping, just have to say it. So much fun. So actually, it's been really lovely to catch up, and I'm so appreciative of you sharing your thoughts and your process with us. And it's been such a beautiful show to have together.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.